under Junior Motorsports. And in doing so today, G-Man, he has closed in on Chris Buescher. He's got Buescher now, by a pin thread. Hey, they're closing in on me. He's only 36 points now behind Buescher. Buescher slips, and Regan Smith is in for the championship.
Absolutely. Consistency is what's going to pay off in this one here, Wesley. There's no doubt about it. Championships have been won in the past. Lots of things have happened just by being consistent. Top 5, top 10 finish. And as you say, Buescher at any moment, that one little slip, a few seconds on the pit road, a fuel issue. And like Reagan said today, fuel, not Reagan, but the commentator, fuel could have been a factor today. Reagan made the comment about the, restarts over there. Anything could happen at any one of the NASCAR tracks out there on the circuit. So is it impossible for Regan Smith and Buescher to still do battle? It's absolutely 100% possible. And if I was Buescher, if personally, I would be looking in my rearview mirror and I'd be looking out my side any way I possibly can for for Regan Smith here, because I think Regan Smith has now set the precedent with Junior Motorsports after today's victory, Wesley, at the Monster Mile here in the Xfinity Hisense 200 here. I really believe that Regan Smith has the confidence now built up in him. He always did. He always had the confidence. But I think today was a big boost in their race car program and in their program with Junior Motorsports here to really excel.
Yeah, no doubt. No question about it. And, of course, you look at Chris Buescher and his brother James Buescher. I know both of those cats, G-Man, when I used to announce with the USAC Ford Focus Carolina Midgets Tour. Well, wow, make me feel old back in the day, like almost a decade ago. And they're talented. Chris and James are really darn good race car drivers. And, it goes to show. Not taking anything away from Elliott Sadler, not taking anything away from that contract. That's great. I'm glad that One Main Financial, I'm glad that Elliott Sadler can go with Junior Motorsports, and maybe he can get that championship. And maybe Elliott Sadler will retire after that. Who knows? Maybe he'll replace his brother Hermie Sadler as an announcer. You never know.
Now you're stretching it. You're stretching it now, Wesley. You're stretching it too far.
Absolutely. So, anything can happen, but bottom line, Regan Smith is he's a class act driver, great talented young man, and you heard Marty Snyder say, hey, you got to throw some Hail Marys to pull some upsets here to catch him, and you're back in the game. Not today. He led the last 80 laps of the race at 200, and he dominated it. Bottom line, you think about one race team that comes to mind in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Sprint Cup Series that is on cloud 9 right now in winning. It's Joe Gibbs Racing. So to be able to put the spanking on Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch in the Gibbs cars and have a good run at Dover and the Munster Mile and fight the weather and fight the cars and fight the the elements, hey, more power to Regan Smith. I hope he makes a great run for the championship. We need this type of battle come down to this because I've said this for many years, and on the subject, maybe we'll talk about it another one, but I think it's time for the Xfinity Series. I think it's time for the Camping World Truck Series, who race at Vegas later on tonight, to have their own chase format. Maybe not a 10-race series, but maybe a 5-race series.
I agree that. And, when it comes down to the way that NASCAR has redesigned now with the elimination here and the chase program here going into the final countdown here before we reach, Homestead, Florida here, you got to give a lot of credit to the way NASCAR is trying to structure their program here. Yes, Wesley, there are a lot of things out here that we still may not agree with here in the way that they've designed their race program here. But I think a lot of race fans need to look deeper into what it's all about and the reason behind it. And I think this is where a lot of it comes to a head with a lot of the race fans in that, Wesley, is I can't blame NASCAR for it, and I can't blame anybody for it, but the old saying, don't throw stones at the glass house until you really know what's going on. And I'm a firm believer that, and I personally can take a lot of the blame for ridicule and some of the things that NASCAR has done, especially this absurd past week of penalties and infractions and P2 this, and we'll get into that in a little while here. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to calm down yet from it, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But again, a lot of the race fans, Wesley, I think if they really understood the reasoning behind what NASCAR does and the reason why they make some of these changes, and again, misinformed. I guess the biggest question is, are we really relaying the information that we need to the fans and the spectators, or is it something that we really don't need to convey to them, Wesley? That question can go either way here. Comments and opinions on that?
No, I think you're exactly right. I think there's a lot of speculation there that can go both ways, both sides of that whole deal. And I believe that, NASCAR is doing the absolute best they can. Hindsight, like this weekend, they're going to absolutely do every effort possible to get this race in, to get the AAA 400 in its entirety. They don't want to have to postpone it. They don't want to have to cancel it. Yeah, they might have to cancel it because NASCAR's going to put themselves in a box. You've got 10 straight weeks of racing to decide the champion. After Dover, you have the contender round. 4 drivers are eliminated. And there's 4 drivers right now. Kevin Harvick, after the slump he had at New Hampshire the other week ago, running out of fuel with 2 laps to go, which in my part, I will say, was kind of selfish because G-Man, he could have had the opportunity to come down pit road, take on fuel, salvage a top 5 finish maybe, and be better locked in points-wise to go to the next level. We know Kevin Harvick can win. But to completely run out of fuel and go from, second in the points to, 14th, oh my goodness, he put himself in a bad spot. Kyle Busch has been on a slump here, and it's a tough break for him after coming back from his injury at Daytona, being competitive, winning 4 races, a couple of them was 3 times in a row. Bottom line, Joe Gibbs Racing has got a great shoe. Denny Hamlin winning the opening race of the Chase at Chicagoland. But again, I reiterate, Harvick, Busch, Jamie McMurray, and believe it or not, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Junior Nation. Junior's got to prosper. He's got to show something here. He's got to deliver on Sunday. If he doesn't, he's out. Bottom line, he's out.
And you're 100. These 4 drivers, they have no choice. You're right. NASCAR has that decision, and I personally 100% agree that NASCAR will do everything in their power to make sure that they get this AAA 400 in this Sunday, no matter what it takes. They proved it today. They were on that racetrack at 5 a.m. this morning, getting that racetrack in race-ready condition here. They fought the elements all day, and I believe right now, in all sincerity, that NASCAR, everybody at Dover International Speedway, the safety crews, the track crew, everybody that has anything to do with that racetrack right now, Wesley, I believe all game plan has been put into action. Plan A, B, and C. Everything is in motion right now. After the Xfinity 200 today, I believe that everything, the Hisense 200 race completed, I believe that NASCAR was already out there making preparations for tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. And everything's going to be done to try to get this race in its entirety tomorrow for the AAA 400. NASCAR, and we've seen this time and time again this year and in the past. Let's reiterate here. Let's go back to your history books. Historians, statisticians, the last time NASCAR had to... Now, granted, believe it or not, the last time NASCAR ran a late event was actually on a Wednesday at Michigan. That was in 2005, I believe it was. 2005, they fought rain all weekend long, and they ended up having to finish the Sprint Cup race on a Wednesday afternoon. Or correction, Tuesday. It was a Tuesday afternoon. And they were actually trying to get back because they had to get back to go to another racetrack. Well, they're in their same boat here now. They've got to get this race in. It's the most important to get this race in because it's a chase event. The drivers that I mentioned, those 4, Busch, Harvick, Earnhardt Jr., and McMurray, want to get these races in. Now, obviously, the other drivers do as well. But bottom line here, you got to look back at October of 1998. That's the last time NASCAR actually had to reschedule a postponed race at Talladega in July. And they actually had to end up running that event on a Saturday of all times, G-Man, in October. In November, right before Atlanta. So, again, I remember that plain as day as a child growing up watching the history of NASCAR. You don't want to see that happen, and I don't think we're going to see that happen. NASCAR this year has been under the gun with weather. They fought at Bristol. Remember, they raced at Bristol till 2 a.m. I'm sorry, till almost 11:30, 12 o'clock in the morning. In the spring event at Bristol. Then you go back to Daytona and the Coke Zero 400, which had that crazy finish with Austin Dillon hitting the catch fence and Barrel Rolling Jr. winning. And again, what a difference a couple of months makes. Junior's on cloud nine, winning Daytona in the July 4th weekend. That race ended at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's one of those drivers now that he's got to make it in this race. He's got to have a good run. If not, he's done. He's out of it. So NASCAR is going to do everything they can, Greg, to try to get this show in. I believe they'll do it as well. I commend them for the great job they did today. No, the stands weren't packed. It wasn't a big crowd. You ain't seen that a lot lately on your Xfinity shows anyway. But, I mean, hey, it's raining. It's miserable. I mean...
Here's the thing, though, Wesley. You gotta give credit, though, because race fans are probably the most loyal and dedicated people there are in today.
Oh, yes.
God.
They're diehard.
They will brave the weather. They will travel hundreds of miles. They'll travel from continent to continent. It doesn't matter. Race fans deserve a lot more credit than credit being than is given to them. And you look back, you talk about looking back in time, and so much has changed over the years, Wesley, with the sport of NASCAR racing here in the Cup Series, the Xfinity here, and even long before the Camping World Truck Series came into effect. It used to be a more casual, laid-back type of event where you could come and go and kind of, enjoy the walk around the pit area, walk around the complex, wherever the race may be. Now, you look over the years here, we've expanded the schedule. We've added more racetracks. We've gone to night racing here. We've gone to Canada. We've gone below the border here. We've done things with NASCAR that have, totally, have, believe me, there's no rhyme or reason. We just did it. And, change, Wesley, people fear that word change. When you talk about making changes, every race team, when they see a new rule come out, it's a fear around the race shop. But the race fans themselves, I think they endure just as much sometimes, Wesley, as a race team, because not only do they have an expanded schedule here, but they also have to make those commitments. We have a weekend off. We have to be back to work on a Monday. Now, most of them will probably say, we can call in sick and we'll go to the race on Monday. It's amazing at the dedication, the loyalty that these race fans will give to the NASCAR circuit. Is it, the question that I've seen with a lot of folks here and that I've talked with on a one-to-one here, as a team owner, a team driver, and things like that, and you look up in the grandstand on an Xfinity race, or sometimes even the Camping World Truck Series, you look up there in the grandstand and you see minimal amount of people. You look at the ARCA series here. You look up in the grandstands. The grandstands are almost empty. Hold this thought for a minute, Wesley. We're going to take a little station break right here. I want to come back and make a couple of quick comments on how much of an impact that also may play with a team and a driver when they show up at a racetrack. Folks, it's 8:14 here in the Carolinas right now. This is WMRG 95.3 with the G-Man here and your host, Wesley Outland. This is the Life in the Fast Line radio broadcast show, high-impact radio show. We're so glad you're going to be with us here tonight, joining us here to welcome in the weekend here with NASCAR and the Monster Mile at Dover International Speedway. And we got a lot of great things planned for you folks this evening. We got a lot of great things planned for you here in the up-and-coming shows with your host, Wesley Outland, and the World of NASCAR, the World of Outlaw series here. Life in the Fast Lane is a show that's going to be dedicated to not just one motorsport. It's to all motorsports. It's to you, the race fan. Wesley Outland, many years experience here in the field of motorsports here, commentating, broadcasting, journalism, media work, production work. Folks, I guarantee that this high-impact Life in the Fast Lane show here will not only bring you what you need to hear It'll bring you what you want to hear, what you deserve to hear, and